Episode 6 part 2. Woohoo! Let's take a look. So the only bit that was really left to do on the cab fabrication was just basically plating the end of this cross member that got hacked to clear that frame rail. So got plated and got painted. And same on that side. So that's that. And the reason why I'm doing the next thing next is because with me having a little bit of room here now, with the cab being up in the air, I thought I may as well just get the exhaust out of the way. So that's the stock Crown Vic exhaust, 4 cats. I'm going to keep them. Keep the greenies happy. You know, I'm that kind of guy. I'll try and please everybody. So we're going to run a super simple system from that, which is going to be 2 of these. This is off a previous build. That kink in the silencer situation is maybe switched over to get the silencer in the right place and away from the drive shaft. And then this is the bit that's the Vic part, and that is going to slide over. Plane, come on, you've got to be kidding me. Every time. So, as I speak up, that's the Vic part. Slide that over. You know, that's kind of like speedboats with the steps in the hull. It creates turbulence and vacuum to make it faster. That's a scientific fact. And also, I figure I don't want to go for mandrel bends on the back end. I'd rather go for this crumpledness here. I thought that's got to create turbulence, which is going to create back pressure, which is going to create torque. Again, that is a scientific fact, because everything about this build is all about the science. You can just tell. It's like, you know, it's like a lab in here, a lab of crazy. It's a milestone. The moment has come. It is here. Hopefully, the cab will be making its way down for the last time. So, exhaust. Got the other turn down today from AutoZone. Put that on. Super turbo. Very fast. Exhaust system. So, nice and simple. And hopefully a little more grown up than the orange truck there, because that's thoroughly obnoxious. Exhaust hangers are done. A combination of Crown Vic parts, so happy with that. Fuel line is back in. I'm doing a set myself on fire. All the mounts are ready to go. Okay, I guess this is the moment of truth. There she is, back down again. So I went to push the cab a little bit further back, and it really has sucked. God, the bloody lighting's terrible. It really has sucked the wheel forward, but I like it. I really do. I wish I could have better lighting than this right now, but I like it. That's the ride height-ish. I mean, obviously it's going to go down because it's going to get more weight on it, but yeah. I think I'm happy days. That's the back. Everything sits down. Mount saw line up. I just realised these stiffeners are going to work really well as bed mounts, because that is really thick box section, that, and I had to run an extra cross member sort of here for the front bed mount, but I don't think I'm going to have to do that this time. I'm going to be able to run it straight off them. So hopefully it'll tie it in and be even more stiff. Exhaust done. Happy days. Not gonna lie, I do like that. I do like that. Here we go. definitely a struggle today. Do you ever have those days where you just, I don't know, just can't get into the flow today? Decisions aren't clear. Hey, okay, but we shall push on. So, still trying to keep as much of this inner wing as we can. Now, as you can see, look at those holes. It's pointing too far up at the front. And I've trimmed the front down, but it's still touching. Now, as you can see here, you can see that the front panel of the truck is going to like go halfway through the transmission cooler there. So we're going to have to move the radiator and cooling and all that shenanigans back as much as we can, which I think is going to be about an inch and a half. And I think I'm going to be cutting the edge of the end of the frame rail there down that vertical line, and I think that's going to give me enough. Yeah. To get that to go back an inch, and then yeah, it should be about in the right place, because last time I basically chopped most of this front panel out from about this point down, and it was all kind of fabricated, and I want to keep as much as I can this time. I kept the front of the frame legs from the actual truck, and they're attached to the bumper, which is in the other part, in the other alley, and I want to graft those. Yep, every day. I want to graft those, the end of the truck frame rails slash bumper mount slash front panel mount onto the end of this frame. So I'm thinking it's going to be a clean chop here, and I can fabricate something to have the actual front panel mount around this area when I've moved this back. So that's the idea. Now again, from this angle you can see there's a lot of car in front of the truck right now. So we need to move some of the car back. So radiator's back just about as far as it can go. And you can see down there, but there is clearance. So now I'm going to chop right there. I actually ended up welding this cross member on. I don't know if you can see it there. I think this is a twisty frame, so any time I can try and put some more rigidity into it, I will do. And everything radiator wise can come out of the top, so I felt no need to have a removable cross member down there, so welded in it got. So now chop-a-rooney the front of these frame rails. Right now we've pretty much got the truck inner wings trimmed up so that they clear all of the like AC pipes and stuff like that, and then on this side ABS pump, although it's not plumbed in anymore, but all the pipes still run through it. So the truck inner wings are all pretty much trimmed, and the fenders, inner fenders, wings are on and kind of like positioned basically with that panel gap there, trying to be as parallel as I can possibly be. Now, to get the front panel on, I've got this, that's a dent one that's been trimmed from my last build, which I'm going to use because this is the interference points again. That's the one that's eventually going to go on the truck, but this is the guinea pig right now. And it's wanting to come into this area here, just inside these chassis legs, like around kind of there, lower down. So I'm running into a problem with these transmission cooler lines. So these are going to be whipped off. This is the transmission cooler, which is obviously, I assume, is split at that point in this bottom half. And what I'm probably going to do is run some soft lines to a transmission cooler around this area of the inner wing, and then this will be redundant because I need this area for mounting of the front panel, because it sits higher up on this truck, with it sitting higher on the truck, sitting basically higher on the frame. So I'm going to be maintaining more of this lower frame area, whereas on the orange truck right there I basically chopped the front panel from about here and just fabricated the whole thing, but just trying to keep as much of the truck as I can. Here you can see, so taken the transmission cooler lines off, just made a bit of room and recessed the chassis end legs, the chassis leg ends. And the reason why it's got that extension on the bottom is because the actual radiator mount is now welded to that because I wanted to, you know, give it a bit more strength. So yeah, that next step. A really good day was had in the end. It's been pretty awesome today, I've got to admit. It was a slow start. Mondays always are. I've got to decompress from normal hideous work back to this, what I want to do. So yeah, done a bunch of little trims. This is the mock-up front panel, so all of the cuts are too big. So I will transfer all these cuts that are obviously smaller onto that front panel, which is right there, because I want to keep these gaps at the side as small as possible. Then I've got as much air going through the radiator as possible. I'll make a closing panel for up here, but chop the end of the chassis legs in an L, like I said I was going to, and then that box is something I happen to have on the shelf for about 5 years. It's 2.5 inch, and it's perfect. It's absolutely perfect. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to weld it to the bottom of the front panel, and then I'm going to put a bolt up through the bottom and weld a knot on the inside. So I'll be able to shim it, move it around, and that'll be all good. A lot of the, I don't know if you can see, but a lot of the webbing has gone from the back of here. So maybe if I've got room, I'll put like a vertical piece of box just to give it some strength in there. But actually, really good day. The end of another day. Time does fly when you're having fun. So the front panel is in its final position. That is all on. That's the spare fender that it isn't dented. This is the original trim piece that I've just beaten the hell out of with a lump hammer to get it somewhere straight. It's about as good as my panel beating skills get. So yeah, the front panel is totally in place. Oh, the actual, you can see it. God, I can't see anything. So there you can see the actual, there you can see this box section is welded to the bottom of the front panel now. I started drilling the mounting holes there. I'll take it off and make those bigger and then weld a nut inside this box section and then close it all off. And the bumper brackets. So that's the front part of the original frame. This is now welded to the Crown Vic frame, which is there. So I'm going to run a vertical piece to this cross member actually to get these in the right position, whip the bumper off, and then finish it off and box the frame and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, and then tomorrow the bumper should be on. The front panel should be fully mounted with nuts and bolts, and got to close up this section here, and I made that cut a little too big, so I'll put a little piece of metal back in there. So that's that. Then that grill on that old girl there is going to go on this truck, so I'm going to have to take a few minutes and swap that out, put the old 69 grill, which is in there, got from the scrapyard, straighten that, needs straightening, and then that's going to go on that old girl, and then the front grill can go on this, and then we're on to steering column after that. I have a Mustang steering column here that has a universal joint in it, so I'm waiting for the lower steering column bearing to come from Bronco Graveyard. That's going to be fitted, and then that U-joint can be figured out to fit. And then what I'm probably going to do, if the parts don't arrive, I'm probably going to throw some seam sealer and paint on the inside of here. Get that done. So, yaha! End of a pretty good day. She's getting her face back. In all these little scenes, the front of the truck seems to look the same, but I can promise you there is progress. Now, bumper brackets, now they're pretty down and dirty really. They are tied into the radiator cross member, which is welded to the frame now. So the bumper brackets are both tied to the actual chassis leg and that. So that has all become one piece now. It's just box section, and I'm just going to give that a wire wheel or a sandblast and pretty much bedliner it as is. It is the weakest point in that area, so if the bumper does get a tap, that is the place that's going to go first. I kind of think that's what new cars do, isn't it? So there we go. So bumper brackets are on. Working on this piece now, this filler panel in here. Now there's actually a little air guide to guide air into the radiator that's actually gone over the top of the AC condenser. Now, so what I'm doing is, got my sunbasket box all templated up, and then that's in there as such, and then we have a piece of steel here which I've cut out. Now what I want to do is I'm only going to take it down to about there, and then I'm going to put a right angle on it to actually sit on top of this rubber piece, so I'll be able to guide some extra air down into the actual radiator itself. So I don't know if you can see here, I've got these little marks. That's going to be the bend line. Now I don't have a metal brake, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a series of perforations all the way along, and then I'm going to bend it, and that should do it. It's kind of like a primitive laser cutter or plasma cutter, or you know, whatever. Everything's super dark because it's obviously sunny again today. So yeah, so I'm going to put a series of cuts along that line, bend that to a 90, and welder it. There we go. It actually worked. So I put cuts all along, and some people put, you know, long piece of wood or long piece of steel into the vise and then bend it over all in one go, but I just put it in there and worked it all the way. Don't get me wrong, it's not perfect. You know what, for what I need right now, pretty damn bloody close. It's close enough. There's a filler panel and air guide. Okay, where are we at? Holy hell, the front fell off. What a step back. But you have to go back to go forwards. I think I heard that in a film somewhere. So, cap the chassis legs. I'm probably going to put like seam sealer or something in these holes, just so with heavy rain it doesn't fill the chassis legs up. Those holes were there before. Whatever Ford decided they were there for. Great. I can't put any gusseting down here because there isn't room when the actual front panel sits into this area. But it's all double skinned with the radiator support and all that kind of stuff, so I don't see that this area being weak at all. So that's that. Now the inner fender, you can see there, that line comes to there. So I chopped the hole for the wiring for the ECU, and what happens is the inner fender comes to that point, but there's no room for the actual wiring loom to come out of the bottom of that. So what I'm doing right now is just a little bit of fabrication on this. It's just creating a little bit of a well so the wire can come down and then come out to the side. So I've just made the first piece, so I'll put that in there, and then there'll be a vertical, and then there'll be a horizontal, so I just create a little bit of a well for space for the actual wiring to come out. There we go. That actually went surprisingly well. So hopefully the actual wire will come into the cab this way, and this will give it some room for the wiring loom to exit. Fit it up now and we'll see what it looks like. Well, I think you can safely call that a fail. Fuck. That's what happens when you do things from memory and thinking you know how deep stuff is when it's actually a lot deeper. So this cutout relief needs to be about 3 inches deeper. Needs to come to around that area there. Damn it. Okay, I guess we'll do that again tomorrow. And there we go. The Mark II version, as in the non-guessing version, works considerably better because it leaves enough room. Wow, what a dick. whenever I get to the point of thinking to myself, I've got to put another episode out, I always want to like leave it another day because I know more stuff will be done. But alas, an episode does have to go out. So here she is, and here's where we're up to. So stuff has been made shiny. Front bumper mounts are in, ends are capped off. As you saw before, it's all held in with box section. Got to figure out replumbing the transmission cooler. Radiators moved back, as you guys have all seen. I trial fitted the booster. That clears the cam cover, clears the inner wing, inner fender. Perfect. Don't you love the runs from inside? Okay, so moving on. Rust-Oleum's finest has been used to do the floor. So the floor's been like, parts have been replaced, it's been Pour 15, it's been etch primed, it's been Rust-Oleum primed, and then a couple of coats of a top gloss. So that is pretty much done and sealed. When I had the column in, I'm using a 74 column because it's got the shifter and my original column was broken. What I've done, I've taken the rag joint off the end of this spline. I've ordered a bearing to go in the end of here because on the 74s they're just held by this plastic bush, which is just useless and worn. So that bearing should be here soon, so that bottom will be nice and tight. I'm going to bare metal all this because what I've done with the steering shaft. Okay, so here we go. This is the part that connects onto the Crown Vic rack. That's all normal, and then this part is, what was it? This part basically used to be flipped. This U-joint used to go onto this D, which is now inserted into here, welded, it's been cross-drilled and everything, and that is definitely not going anywhere. So then what I did is I rounded out the D in this universal joint, and again I'm going to cross-drill it at about 4 points. Insert it through, insert the actual steering shaft through a little bit too much and put a ton of heat and weld into it, so that will be nice and safe. And then there will be a one-piece shaft basically from the bottom of the actual column itself all the way down to the rack. Now I've got adjustability in the actual rack itself, so that can go up and down by about 1.5 to 2 inches, and I've also obviously got the movement in this joint as well. So if the column needs to come out or the rack needs to come off, there's loads of movement everywhere, so it's not such a big deal with it all just being one piece. So that's the steering. Right, then moving on to out here, we had a bit of an advancement. Never used one of those really big wire wheels on the 4.5-inch angle grinders. It was amazing. So, oh yeah, forgot about that. So remember we put the air guide into the front panel, that's done. So I cleaned this off last night, cleaned the battery tray off last night. I've got to hit them with a wire wheel, de-rust them, and then paint those. Did the front half of the inner fenders last night, and it came out really well. Just literally hit it with a wire wheel, de-rusted it. It's pitted, but that's all good metal, which will be fine. And then that is the little bit of the recess for the ECU wiring to come out and then go that way. So that is pretty much where we're up to now. Now that the paint is wet inside, well, I'll tell you what, I'll turn the camera around, I'll tell you guys. Just a quick heads up, that's what happens when you have a magnetic tripod in a fabrication shop. Furry? Right, where are we at? That guy totally distracted me. It always makes me feel really weird because my garage goes onto the actual road itself. When people like peer in, it's like, are they wanting me to stop or do they want to look at the project itself? And I get really protective. But anyway, so where are we at and what are we going to be doing moving forward? So the paint in the floor, it's now midday. The paint on the floor of the truck is now wet and is going to be for 24 hours. So I'm not going to be going near this cab for the next 24 hours. So what do we do? I'm probably going to shoot up to the scrapyard now because I need to chop off 2 transmission cooler lines from a Crown Vic in the yard so I can bend them down and then loop the pipes back up to the actual pipes that go to transmission. That's that. And also I've got to swap the grill off the orange truck to go onto this one, so I need to take some bulb holders out of the back of the indicators or flashers on the Crown Vic up there too. So that's 2 items that I need. that's going to be that, and then after I come back and do that, I'm then going to be on with the bed. Going to get final welding and final prep done on all that, get it ground down, primed and painted, and that should take me either into the end of today or sort of mid tomorrow to give this plenty of time to dry. And then the next episode, it should be really, really cool because everything's going to get basically bolted on. The front will be on, the inner wings will be on, wiring will probably be done, steering wheel will be in, pedals will be in, and we'll definitely, hopefully, be mobile and be ready for the bed to start to acquaint itself with its new home. So thanks for watching. Oh, just one thing, if you guys have a minute, if you could click on the ads at the beginning of my films, it makes a big difference to me, and the more money I can earn off those, the more time and money I can spend on this. And money for trucks means turbos. It always means turbos. There's nothing else. So if you get a minute, just click on them. That'd be awesome. Thanks for watching. Find me on Facebook as well, and also Instagram, Nathan's Garage Official. And I am on Twitter, but I'm doing nothing at all on it whatsoever. Thanks for watching. See you next time.